So there she is, the honeybee, Apis mellifera. She's been around for thousands of years. They've 10,000, 15,000 BC, she's been around. And she's still with us, but she's in trouble these days. And it's really nice to see so many people interested in beekeeping. Honeybees are really great for your gardens, and if you have orchards, the two have a symbiotic relationship. Bees will go to what they like best and maybe what's best for them. This is kale, flowering kale, yeah. So I let it go to flower, and let it, in the garden, I let things flower. If they're on it, I have a hard time ripping it out because they're happy there. Where I live, we have bears, and I have a feeling a lot of you might be dealing with bears. If there's ever been a bear in your neighborhood, I can guarantee that if you have a hive there, you're going to have trouble sooner or later. So my husband's made me these stands. Now, at this point right now, I have 4 hives up on this frame, on this stand. And the corrugated metal is there on the corners because one year a bear, the cross braces, it got its arm up in the cross brace and got all the way up there. It is at least 10 feet tall. I have to use a ladder to go up and down. Yeah.
Do you have any problems servicing that up there?
Not this one, because there's plenty of room. The next one I do. It's not a problem. But the older I get, the more problem it's going to be.
So how do you get boxes up and down?
Okay, I use shallow supers, for one thing. I don't ever use full depth supers. One reason is because it's lighter, and it's very hard for me to carry a full super of honey down. It's just too heavy for me. So I will only I'll take an extra box up there and take 6 frames out, or 5 frames out, or 4, carry them down, and then go up and get the rest. So there's the ladder on the ground. This, I would never make another stand like this because it rocks. And I'm 56, and when I'm 70, it's going to be kind of strange up there. But
That's going to be what, 15 feet maybe?
oh, 12, something like that. Personally, if you have an open space, I kind of like to put my entrance facing south. Or, having your entrance face east is really nice too, because you get the morning sun. But you have to work with what you have. If you're in a garden, you want your entrance facing where you're not walking through all the time. You want them to have an airstrip space, where they're not being bothered by you, and they won't bother you, and you won't bother them.
So are those 10-frame hives?
No, I put 9 frames in my hives. I do 9 because I like a little room on each side. 10 is always just so tight. What do you do?
I use 8.
You use 8, okay. Okay, I'm getting ready to go into my hive. I'm lighting my smoker. I use burlap bags, dried twigs. When you are going to go into your hive, before you go, what is my intention here? What am I going to do? Exactly what am I going to do? Because once you open it, you might be a little overwhelmed with all these bees. Really have a focus, go in, do it quickly, and come out. Give them a little smoke. I just give them a few little puffs, let them know I'm coming in. There's a queen. You can see the queen. She has a much longer abdomen. It's tanner. Can you see her?
Oh, that one. Is this it?
Yeah, there she is.
Her Highness.
There's Her Highness. So you can see this wax. After 3 years, I like to replace that wax. Those cells start getting thicker and thicker, and after a while they start getting black, and they really don't like to use them after a while. And every 3 to 5 years I try to do that. That is a super Seizures queen cell. A super Seizures, it's right in the middle. It looks like a peanut. So from the very beginning, that egg is laid in a round shape and fed royal jelly. See on that frame to the left, the cells are bigger. Those are drone cells, and the ones in the middle are the worker cells. The workers are unfertilized females. Their main job is to fertilize the queen. When the queen comes out of her cell, she might wait a few days, depending on the weather when she's ready. She does her mating flight, And her mating flight, she flies about 600 feet up into the air. There'll be drones following her, and she can be fertilized by up to 10 drones. She'll come back, and that is her marriage flight. That's her one big flight ever. Sometimes they take more than that if they didn't get fertilized, but then she comes back into the hive, may wait a few days, but then she'll start laying, and she lays a lot of eggs. During the height of the season, can lay up to over 1,000 eggs a day. So there are a few drones. Can someone up there point out that I can see a few drones? They have bigger eyes. They're bigger.
Is this a drone here?
Yeah, that's a drone there.
That might be one there.
Yeah, uh-huh. Yeah. Okay, so I do something kind of different. See the top frame? I've put a little strip of foundation there to get them started going the right direction, to let them know to draw down from there. There are some people who feel that letting them draw the wax out is really an important thing for their vitality. So I use half of the frames, like in the bottom, with the wax, with the crimped wire. I don't use a plastic in between. Or I let them draw it out themselves. We, over the last couple hundred years, have really manipulated the honeybee. We put them in square boxes. We put them in rectangular frames. We put them in plastic frames. We artificially inseminate the queens. We move them all over the place, and then we wonder why they're dying. So this is one way I'm trying to get back to strengthening the honeybee.
Wow.
Those are some queen cells right there. They're starting, just to show what a queen cell looks like. There's some brood that's capped. This is obviously a frame that I've let them draw out by themselves. It doesn't go all the way to the bottom. And also below your hives, always cut the grass, because if they don't make it onto the landing board and it's tall grass, they get caught up in the grass. Also helps keep the pests away. Got to do that kind of grass cutting at nighttime. Okay, so I have a little extracting shed, very tiny. There's my uncapping knife. I'm extracting this frame. I'm taking the caps off, doing it over this thing I bought. It's got a piece of wood across so I can rest the frame on. The cappings fall down, and there's a screen down there so the honey can drip kind of out of the cappings, and the cappings are up higher. I personally like to give the bees back that frame with honey on it. I mean, they put a lot of energy. It takes like 5 to 7 pounds of honey to make a pound of wax. So you're being very efficient if you can give that frame back to them and not destroy the wax. So I don't have a very fancy extractor. It's a hand one. It's a hand crank. It does 4 at a time. It's not a radial one. That's one that's been spun. Doesn't have all the honey out, but you know, you put it back in the hive and those bees are going to happily clean it back up.
Right.
But I do try to get the frames back in the same hive. This is a Varroa Mites. What do we do about Varroa Mites? This is an apistan strip. At first when the mites came, the tracheal mites came first, I lost some hives. It's like I'd never lost hives before. What's going on? I feel like they died because of the tracheal mite. Then the Varroa mite came. I'm like, oh man, I'm not going to use chemicals. I lost all my hives. It's like, okay, I got to do something. I also use a bottom board, a screened bottom board. The bottom board's also really great to just see what's happening in the hives. You can pull it out. You can see if there's wax moths, poops in there, a bunch. You're like, oh my gosh, they got wax moths. Or you can really tell a lot by what's at the bottom of that bottom board. I don't really feed my bees sugar water unless it's an emergency or it's a new swarm. I'll give them a little bit of sugar water. One thing to help make the sugar water be just a little bit more digestible is you can, and just in a minute amount, you could mix a little chamomile tea in there. Just a little salt in there, just a tiny bit. It just kind of helps make it be more digestible for them. I think we're coming to the end here. Yep.